the Prime Minister's broken promise to address the cost of living crisis. And a promise goes straight to the heart of integrity, because promises should be judged by what we do, not what we say. And we all remember what the Prime Minister said when he was desperate to move from here to over there. And now we see the consequences of that. And the consequences of that are, we hear in a matter of public importance, and this is what MPI stands for, we hear comments like this from the member for Fremantle, and I listened carefully. We see the Coalition talk more crap about the cost of living. Talk more crap about the cost of living. What a disgraceful thing to say about an issue that is affecting every household and every single Australian in the country. Because we saw at 2:30 today that rates were thankfully kept on hold. But inflation is still too high. At 6%, it has doubled the statutory target of 2 to 3%. That is why we welcome today's decision. But we won't be celebrating. We won't be engaging in hubris like we saw from the Treasurer today, and we've seen from many members in this MPI. That is why we also recognise that the RBA did something other than just keep rates on hold. They said something ominous. They said that further rate rises might be necessary. Might be necessary. Now, that's a message. That's a message to you, to do more of the heavy lifting so that it's not left to the RBA to raise rates again. Because this is not a time to celebrate. It's not a time for hubris. It's a time to do the work that you were elected to do. It's a time to do the work that you promised. Inflation is a cloud that hangs over every household. It is an insidious tax that is indeed levied on every Australian. When you open your insurance bill and you see that it has doubled, that is inflation. When you find yourself putting fresh food back on the shelf because it is out of your budget, that is inflation. When you see your power bill increase by close to 30%, as we've seen for many people, including in Victoria, that is inflation. When families are paying $25,000 more on 1 year previously on the average mortgage, that is inflation. When Lifeline is reporting that 80% of its calls now relate to the cost of living pressures, that is inflation. So when we come here and talk about this core problem that's affecting every Australian household and every Australian, we're not talking crap. We're talking about the things that matter to them. Because inflation saps productivity, it hurts families and it destroys hope. And Australians are looking to us in this place to provide solutions. And providing solutions must start with having a discussion and a debate about it. And again, when we do that, we're not talking crap, we're talking about the things that matter to Australians. So what did we see today? At 2:31. At 2:31 we saw a question put to the Treasurer, and the Treasurer stood up with a big smile on his face and made jokes. He made jokes about the tactics of question time, not about the substance of the problem that Australians are facing. And he dodged questions that were put to him with things like, the first rate rise occurred on your watch. Yes, it did. No one's denying that. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do to solve the problems that are facing Australians today? And we saw the Treasurer fail to mention the Measuring What Matters report. Well, what is that document? I had the pleasure of reading it. I encourage others to read it. It goes to 131 pages, but there's a neat summary at the start. And it has on its website, it says that this statement is the first iteration of Australia's national wellbeing framework. And it has other criteria other than just GDP, including health, security, sustainability, cohesiveness and prosperity for all Australians. Now, we know that there was a massive error in that document. It referred to 2-year-old data on mortgage stress. And that's a bit of a clanger, and the Treasurer may like to blame someone else, a staff member or a public servant. We heard all of the speeches about how only that side loves public servants, but we all do. We don't need to hear more speeches like that from the other side. But when we look at a document like that and it talks about mortgage stress, one of the most important stresses facing families, and it uses data from 2019 and 2020, well, then there's a serious question about competence from the Treasurer's office. The office that people are looking to solve this problem, because there won't be any health or security or sustainability or cohesiveness if the Treasurer is not up to the job.